You cannot just take a term that we all have a definition and have agreed upon that definition and then make up your own definition. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be going through some terrible and often dangerous advice that I see with regard to health and fitness that gets spread over social media. But before I start, you guys know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, ding ding ding. And if you don't want to watch the entire video, I will be including timestamps in the description so you can skip ahead to the section that you want. Now onto the topic at hand. As most of you probably already know, there is some absolutely terrible nutrition advice and exercise advice being spread on social media. So I wanted to go over just some examples that I've seen over the last few weeks on my Facebook. These are all real examples, and one of the things that is very concerning is a lot of these pieces of information that are being spread are being shared by people who are calling themselves professionals. A lot of them are personal trainers, and they are giving the absolute worst advice. And the first one that I would like to cover is HIIT training with regard to pregnancy. A few weeks ago, there was this one woman, she had just given birth, and she was asking for exercise advice because she wanted to lose the weight that she put on from the pregnancy. And a couple of people had recommended that she does HIIT training, so I'm going to go over the exact message. This was one of the replies to her post. It said, "I love HIIT, quick, fast, efficient. Start with some low-impact movements for short work and longer rest periods. Advance from that, you will see great results." And the woman who had just given birth replied with, "Thanks, we'll start today." No, do not start today. If you are a woman and you've just given birth, you should not be doing high-intensity interval training. If you have just been given birth, you need to correct whatever dysfunction is going on with your abdominal wall. If you have given birth, chances are your abdominal wall is going to be very, very weak, and there's going to be some type of dysfunction in there. Same with your pelvic floor. So you need to address those issues. You need to first address your core, strengthen your TVA, strengthen your pelvic floor. You want to strengthen all those muscles in your core and pelvic floor. Once you do that, then you could slowly progress to high-intensity interval training if that is something that you would like to do. But you should not be doing that immediately after you give birth. And he wasn't the only one who made that suggestion. There was another person too. Another person, this is what they said: "Try HIIT. It's fun and fast." Yeah, great. Let's see how fun and fast it's going to be when you're in the hospital because you injured yourself because you did HIIT right after you gave birth. So I ended up responding with, "Don't go right into HIIT. Build up your strength and endurance first. Also, if you haven't done any rehab after giving birth, you really should place some emphasis on restoring your body's function before going right into an intense training program that your body isn't ready for." So if you are a woman and you have given birth, or if you are about to give birth, you really want to focus on restoring your body's function before going into something high intensity. Work on postural correction, work on restoring your abdominal wall function. You want to do that before you go right into a high intensity training program, because if you go right into that without addressing those issues, you are going to increase the chances of you getting injured exponentially. Another post that I saw that just made me want to slap my head was a few months ago, and there's this one girl who is a personal trainer, and she ended up making a post about resistance training, and she was saying how resistance training is different than weight training, and that you're better off doing resistance training because you could get injured with weight training. And I'm just going to read the post for you. "Weightlifting hurts my joints," and it's in quotes. "Weightlifting got me injured. Weightlifting didn't help me get results." First of all, no, it's not the weightlifting that did that. Improper weightlifting is going to get you injured and not get you results. If you do weightlifting properly, you can get good results with weightlifting, and you could correct whatever injuries you have with weightlifting. I've done rehabilitation on I don't even know how many people at this point in my career. I've been doing this for over 16 years, and I've rehabilitated hundreds of people with weight training. You can do it with resistance bands, you can do it with medicine balls, you can do it with cable machines, you could do it with kettlebells, dumbbells. There are plenty of ways that you can improve the way you look, perform, and feel, and resistance training and weight training are the same thing. Weight training is under the umbrella of resistance training. Resistance training is essentially training your muscles under some type of external resistance. That resistance can be in the form of your body, it can be in the form of weights, it can be in the form of bands. There are plenty of ways that you can do resistance training, and weight training is one of them. Weight training is not different from resistance training. It is one of the forms of resistance training. She then says, "I agree with you 100%. Stop lifting weights." Wait, what? Yep. Stop wasting your time lifting weights and start resistance training. What's the difference between weightlifting and resistance training? The goal. The goal of weightlifting is to lift weight from point A to point B in any way without any specific purpose or intent, just as long as you get it up using any muscles or as many muscles as possible. That is the most ridiculous definition of weight training that I have ever heard in my life. No, the point of weight training is not to lift something from A to B without any intent. The point of weight training is to lift a weight. Now, when it comes to the actual intention, depending on what your goal is, that is going to determine the intent of how you lift that particular weight. It's not just lifting the heaviest weight possible from A to B. And on a side note, if you are lifting the heaviest weight possible from point A to B, that is a powerlifting competition. That is trying to do a 1 repetition maximum. If you are lifting a 20 repetition maximum, so you have 60% of your 1 RM, you're going to be doing 20 repetitions. That's not lifting the heaviest weight possible from A to B. And the other thing is, there is an intent and you do have to focus on form. You can't just lift it however the hell you want. When you do a deadlift, you're not going to round your back and throw your back out when you do a deadlift. You want to keep your back straight. You want to keep your hips back. There are plenty of things that you need to do when performing any single lift. If you watch any of my exercise demonstration videos, I have about 48 of them and each one is 3 to 4 minutes long. That's 3 to 4 minutes of explanation on how to perform every single exercise. If it was just lift the weight as fast as you can from point A to B, then my videos would be 10 seconds long. The bench press, oh, drop it and push it. Oh, the squat, drop down and lift up. No, every single lift has very specific requirements on how you perform it. There are specific form guidelines. You're not just lifting from A to B as fast as you can. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. On to the rest of the post. The goal of resistance training is to load and fatigue specific muscle with intent. You can also do that with weight training, so that the muscle will grow and change the appearance of the body relative to the goal the person has. Oh yeah, because you can't change the shape of your body with weight training. No, you can only do that with resistance training. Every single person that's ever competed in a physique competition, every bodybuilder, every single physique athlete, every single fitness competitor, no, their bodies just magically changed. It wasn't the weights, they just changed because of something completely different. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. You can change the shape of your body with weights, you can change the shape of your body with cables, you can change the shape of your body with resistance bands, you can change the shape of your body with any of those different implements. Just because you are opposed to weight training, it doesn't mean that it's ineffective. If you are doing a program properly with weights, you will get results from that. If you are not seeing results, it's because you're not weight training properly. But you are conflating improper weight training with proper weight training. So I ended up responding to this post because as soon as I saw it, I just had to slap my head and I had to respond. And my response was, weight training is a form of resistance training. Weights, bands, and cables all require the muscle to contract and resist against an external stimulus. That is the definition of resistance training. You are training your muscles under some type of resistance. And that can be the form of your body, free weights, cables, resistance bands, any of that type of stuff. To which she replied, there's a difference between attempting to resistance train versus actual resistance training. Just like how there's a difference between trying to lose weight versus actually losing weight. People who have done both weightlifting and resistance training know that there is in fact a difference. Yes, I've done both. I've done weight training and I've done other forms of resistance training, and there is a difference, and even though they're different, they are still part of resistance training. Weight training is a form of resistance training. This person right over here, I'm going to make another video that goes more into detail because she was taught by somebody who told her that resistance training was different, and he basically conned her into this because he lied about his credentials. She's brand new to training. She's only been doing it for a few weeks, so I'm not going to blame this one person, but you need to be careful with who you listen to. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Anyway, I ended up replying with, where are you getting this information from? I'm not being sarcastic. It's a genuine question, and I'm curious where you heard, read, or was taught this. And that is when she ended up messaging me on Facebook and told me where exactly she learned it. I'm going to be making a video on this topic another time, but that is one of the pieces of misinformation that has been being spread around. And there was also another person a couple weeks later that said something very similar, which makes me question if this other trainer has also been taught by this person. And this person said resistance training is much more effective than strength training. Now with this one over here, it's a little bit different because he didn't say weight training, he said strength training. However, again, strength training is a form of resistance training because you can't gain strength if you don't have some type of resistance to resist against. And somebody had made a comment about how they Googled it and they were basically the same term. And the person who made the post responded with, I never looked up the definitions, I made my own. Now this absolutely drives me nuts because you cannot just take a term that we all have a definition and have agreed upon that definition and then make up your own definition. It doesn't work like that. We have definitions for a reason and we need to have some consistency when it comes to these definitions. Anyway, on to that. So he made up his own definition. Strength training is when I lift X pounds efficiently for max reps. Resistance training is when I lift X pounds with internal fortitude, intent, and fatiguing ASAP, as soon as possible, during the lift. Again, we have different types of training depending on what exactly your goal is. If you want to build relative strength, absolute strength, hypertrophy, or if you want to improve your endurance, those are all going to require different stimulus and they're going to require different loading parameters. Just because you give it a new name, it doesn't mean that it's a new thing. Strength training is a form of resistance training because you can't build strength if you don't have resistance. You need resistance to build strength. And I ended up replying to this gentleman as well, and I replied by saying resistance training is an umbrella term. It's basically training your muscles under some type of external resistance. Strength training would fall under the umbrella of resistance training, as you can't gain strength without resistance, which is what I just told you guys, but that's basically what the conversation looked like, and he never ended up responding to me. Next, another thing that I see a lot of trainers do that drives me nuts is they're constantly bragging about how many hours they spend in the gym, and they're not doing this because they're trying to motivate people to get into the gym. They're basically just patting themselves on the back and trying to get likes on their post. Well, by saying to work out for 3 hours, you're not motivating anybody to go to the gym. All you're doing is discouraging people because you're tricking people into thinking they need to train for 3 hours when it's unnecessary. You don't need to be in the gym for 3 hours. Max an hour. If you are just trying to get in shape, an hour is more than enough. If you are a professional elite level athlete and you are trying to break a world record, achieve a gold medal, then yeah, you're going to have to spend more time in the gym. But if you are just trying to lose weight, 3 hours is way too much. You do not need to do that much work. All you need is 1 hour max. And if you are going to do more than 1 hour of training in the gym, you're better off splitting it into multiple training sessions. So let's say you wanted to do a 2-hour training session. You're better off doing 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour at night because you cannot maintain that high level of intensity for that long of a period of time. Now, there are certain instances when you can break this rule. If you're training for endurance, for example, if you're training for a marathon, then yeah, you can do longer training sessions. But if you're just trying to either lose weight, build muscle, increase strength, 1 hour is more than enough. You don't need to do 3 hours. So I ended up posting this a few weeks ago. I said, if you're training for 3 hours, you're probably doing it wrong. You don't need to work out for more than 1 hour. And on this post, another personal trainer got really mad at me because I guess she thought that I was accusing her or poking at her, but this post had nothing to do with her. I was speaking to the general public, and she got really mad and responded with this. I don't agree. You don't know what injuries someone has or why it takes them that long. And it's really not your judgment to tell someone they are doing it wrong. First of all, I never said they're doing it wrong. If you're going to quote me correctly. I said they're probably doing it wrong, which means that some people are probably doing it right. But most people, if you're in the gym for 3 hours, you're most likely doing it wrong. If you're not an elite level athlete and you're just trying to lose some weight and build some muscle, you're doing it wrong if you're in the gym for 3 hours. I could write you a 1 hour program and you'll get better results than the 3 hour crappy program that you're doing in the gym. Back to the point. I work out for 2 to 3 hours and it is working for me. If it's working for me, I'm doing it right. First of all, it's not working for this girl. The reason I know it's not working for this girl is because she constantly messages me for advice and she's always complaining about how she can't get lean enough and can't get strong. This is a personal trainer. She's over 30% body fat and she is unable to do one push-up. One single push-up. She cannot do one single push-up. Do you honestly think that her 2 to 3 hour training session is being effective? No, because if she was being effective with her training program, she wouldn't be over 30% body fat, she would be able to do a proper push-up, and she wouldn't be asking me for advice all the time. But on to my reply, I ended up replying with, probably doing it wrong. And as a professional, yes, it is my responsibility to tell someone if they're doing something wrong, That is my job. As a professional, if I see someone doing something they shouldn't be doing, I want to educate people so they can get better results. And to do that, I need to tell them when they're doing something wrong. So she replied, no, because announcing it publicly on Facebook has nothing to do with your clients that you train. First of all, I'm not picking anybody by name. I'm just saying, in general, if you're training for more than 3 hours, you're probably doing it wrong. It's not like I'm saying you, this person, naming them. You're not training properly because you're not following the rules that I've set. No, it's just a general comment that I made. But back to the comments. Your posts come across a bit immature. I don't know how exactly it comes off immature. I'm just giving advice. When you're yelling out loud at people you don't train. Again, what does me not training them have to do with anything? I'm giving out advice. If they were paying me, I would be giving them the same advice. Don't train for 3 hours in one session. It doesn't make sense. And then she said, who is this post meant for? To which I replied, my clients know better than to train for 3 hours. It's meant for people who are uneducated and think they need to train for 3 hours to get results. Quick side note, when I say uneducated, that's not meant as an insult, it's just a fact. If you don't know or you haven't educated yourself on how to train properly, you are uneducated in that topic. I know nothing about engines. So if a mechanic were to give me advice on engine troubles and how to fix an engine, I am uneducated on that topic, so I am going to take the professional's advice. And that exactly is my issue with this problem. But back to the post. If you're just trying to lose weight or improve your health, training that long is unnecessary and counterproductive. If you're a professional athlete attempting to set some type of record or are working on improving some type of skill, then yes, that amount of time is justified. If you're just trying to lose some weight or decrease your body fat percentage a bit, it's completely unnecessary and you can get better results from a properly designed program that takes a fraction of the time. There is this thing in economics called the law of diminishing return, and basically you can only put so much in before the money that you put into something is going to depreciate and it's not going to gain as much value. The same thing applies to training. There is a law of diminishing returns. If you are training at high intensities, you can only do that for so long. Eventually, you are going to get weaker because the more you train, the weaker you're going to get, and you cannot maintain a high level of intensity throughout the course of 3 hours. So once your body starts to get weaker, you're no longer going to see any benefits in the gym, and you need to cut your training session at that point. If you continue to train for 3 hours and you're just getting weaker and weaker, you're never going to see results. And perfect example is this girl over here. She trains 2 to 3 hours every single day. Her body fat's over 30%, and she's unable to do one proper push-up. If you can't do one proper push-up and you've been training for over 10 years for 2 to 3 hours a day, why the hell are you still doing that type of program? Clearly it's not working for you. You would be better off going higher intensity, shorter period of time. If you train for only 1 hour, you can train at a higher intensity. If you train for 3 hours, you are not going to be able to sustain a high intensity for 3 hours, and you are not going to see results. Now, back to the post. She ended up responding with, again, you don't know why I trained for that long, and frankly, it's none of your business or concern. First of all, this post has nothing to do with you. This was on my private page and I brought it out to the world. This is for everybody, not for you. Get over yourself. Sometimes you need to keep your uneducated opinions to yourself. So apparently I'm uneducated just because my opinion is different from hers. She's the one that needs to get over herself. If somebody has a different opinion from you, it doesn't matter if it's training, if it's regard to anything. Just because somebody has a different opinion than you, it doesn't mean that they're uneducated. It just means they have a different opinion. Now, on to my response. I said, my post had nothing to do with you or the way you train. It was a post for the average person who goes to the gym and trains for longer than they need to, which is exactly what my post was about. And just for reference, this person, right after I made that post, she was kind of bragging about her 5-hour workout that she did, and she ended up posting this picture, and it says, feeling accomplished today. 2.5-hour walking with weight class, 2.5-hour bicep and triceps workout, and she's flexing her bicep that is almost non-existent. Now, for somebody that trains 2.5 hours a day for, I don't know how many days, I believe she trains every single day. So 2.5 hours a day over the course of 10 years, look at the body fat percentage, it's over 30%. Look at the bicep, it's almost non-existent. She's unable to do a push-up. Is that really doing anything for the people that she's trying to reach? All she's doing is bragging and patting herself on the back for having done a 5-hour workout. She's not motivating anybody. If anything, she's doing the opposite, and she's discouraging people from working out because people think they need to work out for 5 hours now in order to look like her, when really they could do a 1-hour workout and look better than her. Now, on to her actual profile. She has this big thing. It says certified personal trainer, 10 plus years experience, designs fitness, strength training programs. Now, this part's really funny. Aside from the certified personal trainer and 10 plus years experience, she designs fitness and strength training programs. Wow, you've been training for over 10 years, you can't even do one proper push-up. Let me get your advice on how to get stronger, because you must really know how to get stronger if you've been training for over 10 years and can't do a single push-up. Yes, please, give me your advice. Anyway, that's it for that one. Another thing that I've seen on my Facebook is personal trainers conflating different types of loading parameters when it comes to specific objectives. So for people that want to lose weight, a lot of times I will see, oh, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get bulky. And this tends to get reiterated all the time. This is especially true when it comes to women. When I was working in these big box gyms 16 years ago, every time I would sit down with a woman and she mentioned that she wanted to lose weight and I would talk about weightlifting, I would 90% of the time get the response, oh, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get bulky. And this is a misinterpretation of what is involved in gaining muscle and burning fat. So I ended up making this post and I said, you won't get bulky from lifting weights, you'll get stronger. To which somebody replied, a combination between lifting heavy and more calories will make you bulky. And no, it won't. because there's more to getting bulky than just calories and weight training. Depending on the type of training that you're doing, you can get stronger without getting bulky. And in terms of the calories, if you increase your calorie consumption, but you are not doing the appropriate type of training, then depends on what you mean by bulky. If by bulky you mean more muscular, then you won't necessarily get more muscular from doing that type of training. If by bulky you mean getting fatter, then if your calories are in a surplus and you are lifting heavy, then yes, you will get bulky in terms of fat. But in terms of muscles, you're not going to get bulky muscles from doing heavy training. And I replied, nope. Heavy lifting is for strength, moderate lifting is for hypertrophy, and light lifting is for strength endurance. If you're lifting above 85% of your 1 repetition maximum and your time under tension is below 20 seconds, you won't have enough stimulation to elicit a hypertrophy response. If you're lifting moderate weights, let's say 70 to 75% of your 1 RM, and your time under tension is longer, then you're doing hypertrophy training. When I say heavy lifting, I'm referring to high intensity with regard to percentage of your 1 RM. If you're lifting 12 repetitions, that's not heavy with regard to intensity. And that is really important. When I talk about heavy lifting, I am referring to intensity of 1 repetition maximum. When I say heavy, above 85% is heavy. If you're lifting at 70 to 75% of your 1 RM, that is a moderate amount of weight. That's not heavy. It may feel heavy to you, but I'm not talking about what feels heavy. I'm talking about heavy in terms of percentage of your 1 repetition maximum. So if you are lifting heavy, and that heavy is within the 70 to 75% range, that is more for hypertrophy. That, with a calorie surplus, will cause you to get bulky and build muscle. But if you are lifting heavy above 85%, 1 to 5 repetitions, and resting 3 to 5 minutes long, that is going to increase your strength. You're not necessarily going to build muscle. You can build muscle, but in order to build muscle on that low of a number of repetitions and that high intensity, you are going to have to dramatically increase your training volume. You can't just do 1 to 5 repetitions for 3 to 5 sets and build a lot of muscle. You need to do a lot more training volume to elicit a hypertrophy response if you are going at a high intensity. And on this topic, there was somebody else. This is not a personal trainer. This person right over here was just asking for some advice. And they were trying to lose some weight. They wanted to lose a little bit of weight and tone up, but they didn't want to get bulky. And they ended up saying that they get bulky when they lift heavy weights. So I was just curious about what their definition of heavy weights were. So I said, what do you mean by heavy weights? Lifting heavy won't make you get bulky. It'll make you stronger. Lifting moderate weights will make you bulky. Generally, if you're lifting in the 1 to 5 rep range, that's going to increase your relative strength without making you get bigger. If you're lifting in the 8 to 12 rep range, that's going to increase muscle size. Muscle size is hypertrophy. So if you are training in the 8 to 12 rep range, that's going to be ideal for hypertrophy. You can still build muscle on lower reps, you can still build muscle on higher, but in general, that's going to be the repetition range where most people are going to see the most benefits in terms of muscle gain. And she ended up replying with, my thighs got bigger, can't fit in my size 10 jeans, just trying to do body weight workouts. I'm pear-shaped, which has absolutely nothing to do with the question that I asked her. I asked her, what exactly does she mean by heavy? So I replied with, okay, but again, what do you mean by heavy weight? What is the intensity? And then in brackets, percentage of your 1 RM you're lifting. How many sets are you lifting it for? How many repetitions? What is the tempo you're following? How long are your rest periods? To which she ended up replying, I was doing 3 sets with 10 to 12 reps. If you remember from my program design videos, 3 sets at 10 to 12 reps, that is going to be close to the hypertrophy zone. Hypertrophy is 4 to 8 sets, anywhere from 9 to 12 repetitions, and you're resting anywhere from 60 to 120 seconds. So the workout that she's doing, she is training for hypertrophy, which is why she's getting bulky. If she was training heavy, and when I say heavy, I mean high in terms of percentage of 1 repetition maximum, so high intensity relative to 1 percentage maximum, then she's not going to get bulky. You will not get bulky if you are training heavy. You will get bulky if you're training at a moderately high weight. And I ended up replying with, that's why you were getting bulky. You were lifting in the hypertrophy range. You need to alternate between fat loss and strength variables. For strength, lift heavier, more than 82% of your 1 repetition maximum, do less repetitions, 1 to 5, do more sets, 6 to 12, and take long rests, 3 to 5 minutes. And one more on the topic of I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get bulky. I have this girl on my Facebook, and a few months ago she was asking for advice. She wanted to lose some weight, tone up a little bit, get her stomach down. And this was at the time where I had uploaded some free workouts on YouTube. On my Workout Wednesday playlist, I ended up uploading a bunch, and she only had her body to train with. So I ended up giving her this particular link and told her to try it out. She said, thank you very much. And then I asked her something, and then I made some recommendations about if she had other equipment, that I have other workouts on my channel, and she told me that her focus was mainly on her abs. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to hit her abs. So I told her, heavy squats, deadlifts, and chin-ups are the best ab exercises. Those are pretty much my only ab exercises. I don't train abs. With my clients, I don't make them train abs. Unless I'm doing some type of rehabilitation with a client that they need some core function back, they need it to be restored, then I don't really train abs. All my ab training is from my compound lifts. So she ended up responding with moderate abs, smaller waist, that's what I'm going for. And she sent a link to this training video. And then she said, your recommendation is chin-ups, LOL, you make me laugh. And I said, you can always do assisted chin-ups, because when she said that, I assumed she was laughing because she couldn't do a chin-up, but that's not why she was laughing. But I said, you can always do assisted chin-ups if you can't do them on your own. And she replied with, if you were my personal trainer, I'd fire you right now, LOL. Don't think you get it. This is what I'm looking for. And she ended up sending me a link of the YouTube video that she's going to be following, and it says, smaller waist and lose belly fat in 14 days. Home workout. Wow, it's amazing that you could lose belly fat in 14 days just from following this really, really short routine. Let's see how that goes for you. So I ended up responding with, I don't think you get it. That's how you get it. When I said that's how you get it, I mean that's how you get abs. You get abs by burning more calories, because everybody has abs. The reason your abs aren't showing is because of the layer of fat over your stomach. In order to get rid of that layer of fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. In order to be in a calorie deficit, compound lifts are going to be more beneficial, because compound lifts recruit more muscles, activate more muscle fibers, and they burn more calories. So if you are doing compound lifts, like chin-ups, like squats, like deadlifts, you're going to burn more calories from that than doing something like an ab crunch. So by burning more calories, it will make it easier to be in a calorie deficit, and it will make it easier to lose body fat. And once you lose body fat, you will have visible abs. And if you want to see your abs, you need to lose the body fat underneath it. You don't need to just do crunches, because crunches are not a very high calorie burning exercise. So it doesn't make sense to do crunches if you're trying to show off your abs. To which she replied, I don't think you still understand. I don't want abs to the point that it looks unreal and ugly. You're not going to get unreal ugly abs from doing chin-ups and deadlifts. Again, depending on the type of training you are doing, whether you're training for relative strength, absolute strength, hypertrophy, or strength endurance, that's going to dictate how exactly your body responds. And if you're not training for hypertrophy, you're not going to get big, bulky abs. Anyway, back to her comment. I am going to stick to following that girl's routine. She has nice waist. Great, she has a nice waist, so she must know what she's doing. Yes. Anyway, back to her thing. I only want to lose 2 inches from my waist since I'm stuck at home. That's it. I'm going to stick to her routine, period. I'm already in good shape. She's not in good shape. She ended up messaging me before, and she was talking about how she wanted to improve her endurance, her strength, all this other stuff. So if she was in good shape, she wouldn't have made that comment when she responded to me earlier before this whole conversation happened. Anyway, back to the comment. I used to work out a lot in university. This is something that drives me absolutely nuts. Just because you used to work out in university, it doesn't mean you know what you're doing. I used to throw a football around in elementary school, but if Tom Brady were to give me advice on how to throw a football, I'm not going to say, it's okay, I don't need your advice, I know what I'm doing. I used to throw a football in elementary school. Anyway, back to the point. I used to work out a lot in university, so I know what I need to do. No, you don't, but anyway. So I replied with just offering some professional advice. Believe it or not, I do know a thing or two about training, having done this professionally for almost 16 years. Also, I watched the video you linked, try it out for 14 days, and let me know the results. I'm sure you're going to have a flat tummy in 14 days from doing that 4-minute routine from that girl that has a nice waist. Those are just a few examples of people that are just giving terrible information or just don't know what they're talking about on social media. So whenever you do get information in regard to health or fitness on social media, be very careful with who you listen to, because a lot of people are spreading misinformation, and if you believe that misinformation, it is going to have some negative consequences. That's pretty much it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.